Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started with this cool down. Remember, we're doing each one of these for 30 seconds, and we're starting off with a toe touch stretch. Go ahead and start it up, stretching down towards those toes, feet just about shoulder width apart. Get a really good stretch on those hamstrings, letting that lower back round as well. Just keep those lungs open, breathing normally. Try to get into a nice, comfortable position, just constantly pushing just a little bit further to maintain that stretch. Got just about 10 seconds left. We're moving on to an inside thigh stretch next. 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch it, going into that inside thigh. Drop it down nice and low, kicking one leg off to the side. Lean your hip down towards that straight leg to increase that stretch on that inside thigh. Again, just keeping those lungs open. Get into as comfortable a position as you possibly can. Just let those inner thighs stretch out. We're going to be switching over to the other side here in just a second. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch sides. Drop it down. Go into that stretch. Remember again, drop that hip on the side of your straight leg to increase that stretch to that inside thigh. Again, keep those lungs open. Constantly trying to hold that stretch. Pushing a little bit further into it all the time, trying to maintain a consistent stretch. 10 seconds left. 3, 2, 1, and a wide toe touch. Those feet 2 to 3 times shoulder width apart, dropping straight down in the center. Again, stretching that hamstring, very, very similar to a regular toe touch, but this time you're going to be focusing on just a little bit different part of that hamstring. Again, keep those lungs open. Constantly trying to press down just a little bit further. We're going to be moving on to a standing quad stretch next. And go ahead and switch it. Standing up, pull one foot back towards your butt. You should feel it through the front of that quadricep, maybe even into a little bit of that hip flexor. But you're constantly pulling that heel to your butt as close as comfortable for that knee, and then pulling that thigh back behind you as far as possible without letting that chest tilt forward. The further you can pull that knee back, the more you should feel it in that quad. Just 10 more seconds. You'll switch to the other side in 4, 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and switch sides. Bring that other leg up, heel to butt. Just hold it there, nice comfortable position. Again, trying to pull that knee back behind you as much as you can without letting that chest tilt forward. Keep those lungs open. We're going to be moving to a hip flexor stretch with an arm cross pull next. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and switch it. Hip flexor stretch and an arm cross pull. So grabbing hold of that elbow, pulling across in front of your chest, trying to keep that arm as close to your chest as you can. You should feel this through your rhomboid, through that arm, through across that shoulder blade. And then you're also doing that stretch to the front of that hip. So stepping forward, lunging forward, keeping that leg behind you nice and straight to feel it through that hip flexor. Just keep that torso straight up and down. Got just a few seconds left till we switch sides. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and switch sides. Grabbing that other arm, again, just around that elbow area, pulling that arm across in front of your chest, keeping it as close to your chest as you can. Again, you should feel this across that rhomboid, that shoulder blade area of that back. Lunging forward onto that front hip, trying to make sure you're getting a really good stretch to the hip flexor of that opposite leg, the one you have straight behind you. Got about 10 seconds left till we switch. And we're going to be switching to an overhead tricep stretch. 2, 1, and switch it. That arm comes over top of your head, grabbing hold of that elbow, pulling it back behind you, back behind that head, as well as pushing it back behind you. So you want to not only feel this through your tricep, from your elbow to the shoulder, that back of that arm, but you also want to feel it through that outside of your shoulder as well. Got about 10 seconds left, then we're going to switch sides. 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch sides. Bring that opposite arm up, again grabbing that elbow, pulling back across behind you, which is as far as is comfortable. Again, you want to feel that stretch on that tricep, the back of that upper arm, as well as through the outside of that shoulder. Got about 10 seconds left, and then we're going to switch to a downward facing dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch. You want those feet just about hip width apart. You want those hands about shoulder width apart, trying to make a triangle off the ground. So you want a straight line from your wrist to your hip, trying to press that chest down towards those feet, and you want a nice straight line from your hip down to your ankles. So you're trying to press those heels into the ground as best you can, keeping a relatively straight leg. You don't want to let that knee bend unless your hamstrings are too tight, and then you can let those knees bend if you need to. Got you about 5 seconds left till we move to a downward facing dog with a leg lift. And switch it. Just bring one leg up nice and high, trying to open those hips up a little bit. Just get a little extra stretch to those hip muscles, as well as maybe even a little bit extra into that back from tipping those hips down. Just constantly pressing that chest down towards the foot that you have on the ground. And that's halfway right there. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Bring that opposite side up, hold it. Again, opening that hip up, trying to get a good full range of motion out of that leg, out of that hip. Still constantly trying to press that chest down towards the floor. And go ahead and let that one relax. We're going to move on to a plank calf stretch next. So down into a push-up position. One leg crossed over top of the other, pressing the heel of that straight leg down towards the ground, trying to get a really good stretch of that calf. Again, just hold those lungs open. And switch sides. Same exact thing on the other side. About 5 seconds left on this one until we switch to a modified pigeon pose. And go ahead and switch. So one leg crossed in front of your hips, the other leg extended out back behind you, trying to arch that chest back behind you as much as you possibly can. Nice deep breath in, keep those lungs open. Should feel this through the stretch on the leg you have crossed in front of you. You should feel it in the glute of that leg. You should also feel it through the hip flexor of the leg you have straight. Just keep those lungs open, breathing normally. Got about 10 seconds left till we switch sides. 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch sides. Other leg comes up in front of those hips. The opposite leg comes back behind you. Nice straight leg. Tilting that chest back up towards the ceiling. Again, you're going to feel this stretch in the glute of the leg you have crossed in front of you and the hip flexor of the leg you have stretched behind you. Got about 10 seconds left. We're going to move to a cobra pose in 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and switch into a cobra pose. So hands about base of your rib cage, flat down on the ground. Then arch that chest up towards the ceiling. Try to stretch up as high as you possibly can. Now, depending on how flexible your abdominal muscles and your trunk is, you may not be able to get to a full extension on those arms. That's perfectly fine. Just try to hold it wherever you can. But if you can, lock those elbows all the way out. Press those shoulders down towards the ground. Really trying to arch that chest up. Got about 10 seconds left, and we're going to move to a child's pose. In 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch it. Sit back in those heels, hands out in front of you. Nice deep breath in, trying to stretch that chest as well as that lower back. Again, just keep breathing normally. Constantly walking those fingertips away from you, trying to let that lower back round out, really letting everything stretch out. Got 5 seconds left. We're going to switch to a deep glute stretch, and go ahead and switch it. laying flat on your back. One leg's going to cross over top of the other. Grab behind that opposite leg, pulling that thigh in nice and close. So again, whichever leg you're holding on to, you should actually feel the stretch in the opposite leg. So the leg that's crossed over top, you're going to feel the stretch in the glute of that leg. Just keep those lungs open, constantly trying to pull that leg in, trying to get a little bit more range of motion. We're going to switch sides in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and switch sides. Same exact thing, that opposite leg comes over top, grabbing behind the thigh, pulling it in nice and tight. Make sure you don't grab in front of that knee. You want to only grab behind that thigh. If you grab that shin, you're actually compress that knee too much. So it's only grabbing behind that thigh. Again, keep those lungs open. Breathing normally, trying to let everything else relax. Trying to pull that leg in as much as you can to get a good stretch on that glute. And go ahead and let it relax. We're going to switch on to a torso twist stretch. One leg comes over top. Bent knee, trying to roll those hips off one direction. And those shoulders you want to keep plastered to the ground. Constantly trying to actually roll them in the opposite direction of those hips. So you want to keep those shoulders flat against the ground, rolling those hips as far over to one side as you can to get a really good stretch to that torso. Just breathe normally, looking across away from that knee. We're going to switch sides in 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and switch sides. Same exact position, just kicking that knee off to the opposite side. Looking that head off in the opposite direction. Again, still trying to force those shoulders down to the ground as flat as you possibly can. Trying to focus on a really good stretch, really good rotational stretch through that torso. About 10 seconds left. We have one more stretch after this, which is going to be a full body stretch. In 4, 3, 2, 1, and let that one relax. Go to that full body stretch, so laying flat on your back. Arms and legs out flat against the ground, pushing them in opposite directions. Take a nice deep breath in, arching that lower back up. And exhale, let everything release. And then again, inhale, arching that lower back up, stretching those hands and feet in opposite directions. Just go at your own pace. Nice deep breath in, hold it for a few seconds. Then slowly let it exhale as you let all those muscles release. And then go right back into it, trying to stretch those hands and feet in opposite directions as you inhale. Got just a few seconds left. 3, 2, 1, and let it relax. Good job. This cool down is complete.